Welcome back. The Alabama jailbreak that's launched what's now a week-old manhunt isn't much of a mystery. We know exactly how Casey White got from one side of the bars to the other. Even so, there is a story there of a hardened con facing life in prison or potentially even death, somehow enticing a career corrections officer to throw it all away for a life on the lam with him. And even if Casey White isn't around to tell his tale, it's possible that the newly released pictures of his tattoos, it's possible those pictures tell us everything. Joining us now, Larry Levine, who served 10 years in 11 different institutions for offenses ranging from drugs and racketeering to securities fraud. He now runs his own firm called Wall Street Prison Consultants, and he knows a lot about the inside. I'm also pleased to welcome Nikki Simpson. She's previously the host of Ink Master Angels and is currently the owner of Everblack Tattoo Studio in Brooklyn, New York. Welcome to both of you. Nikki, I'm going to start with you. You've had a chance to take a look over Casey White's tattoos. What does it say to you? What do you see in those tattoos?
Right. So upon looking at everything, I do see some common imagery that I see in a lot of prison tattoos that don't necessarily speak racism as, you know, for example, the skulls and the flames. A lot of people get that kind of stuff. But looking closer, I can see on his inner bicep, it looks like he has a double lightning bolt SS kind of looking tattoo, which is very much associated with white supremacy. And on his right side of his chest, it looks like he has a coat of arms with a swastika and another set of lightning bolts, which, you know, is obviously, you know, racist associated. And on the back, it looks like he has a Confederate flag with, I think it says Southern Pride or something like that. The thing about that is it's hard to tell, you know, if that's, you know, if that was done in prison or if he got that beforehand or anything, or if it was racially motivated. But I think one could safely assume that with the combination of the Confederate flag, the swastikas, the lightning bolts, Casey was definitely associated with white supremacy groups.
I mean, it looked like that to me, and I don't know, you know, very much about, you know, tattoo art at all, but just an average guy might be able to notice that. Larry, in prison, tattoos are a big deal. They're a huge deal, and there's kind of a map, and I've seen the spider webs on the elbow, etc. But walk me through what some of those tattoos mean.
Affiliations with different gangs, things that they've done. In other words, if you see somebody with 3 dots, let's say on their eye or on their hand, my crazy life. If they have 5 dots, it means they've served time. The swastikas, yeah, they do indicate white supremacists. I looked at all the images. I don't see that he's like Aryan Brotherhood or anything because he doesn't have an AB on him. And what we need to realize is that the inmates, they'll take chess pieces and they'll melt the chess pieces down in baby oil. They'll take a guitar string and they'll use that to make tattoos. So I would estimate that the stars and bars, the Confederate flag on his neck or back was done on the outside, but the rest of the tats were probably done on the inside. And it's all contraband. It's against rules and policy to get tattoos, but everybody seems to do it.
Right. Larry, I know about the melting down. That's usually the black ink. You can't get color ink necessarily in prison, can you, Larry?
Well, they could get like a red, they could get like a Sharpie marker. They could get a red pen and take the ink from that. They use baby oil. They boil it. And yeah, I mean, they could. But I don't think that generally works out real well. The tattoo artist, she would know more about that than I would.
Nikki, jump in there and tell me about how they craft these different, you know, looks in prison. I've always seen mostly dark ink.
Yeah, so that's something else that I was. Thanks. That's something else that I was, you know, looking at and thinking about because, you know, at my studio we also do laser tattoo removal on any gang-related or racist type of tattoos, and I would say about 99% of them are just with black ink, and that's mostly because when you're inside, you have very limited means to creating ink that is going to be of any quality. So I don't assume that that Casey got tattooed at a normal shop, because as a tattooer,
No.
we would never accept something like that to come through our doors. So I can assume that he maybe got it outside of prison. He could have had it snuck in. I'm not sure, but a lot of times you see people taking paper and burning it with soot and kind of mixing it with some kind of medium, like, I don't know, Vaseline or any other kind of oil or something like that. So you can definitely tell that most of his tattoos, given how broken up everything is and scratchy and how it looks so aged, that's a common sign of something that was definitely done in prison.
They're pretty crude, guys. I have to leave it
obviously.
there, but I could talk about this. I could talk about this all night. And since I have the feeling these guys might be on the run for a while, I'd love to have you back. Thank you, Larry Levine. Thank you, Nikki Simpson.
Thank you so much.
Great to be with you.
Good to see you both. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.